On July 30th, 2013, a call came into the Rowan County Sheriff's Office in North Carolina. It was a missing child report, but not like any other. The caller was a young man named Casey Parsons. He wasn't reporting a recent disappearance. He was reporting that his little sister Erica hadn't been seen in years. Jamie explained that Erica, who was supposed to be living at home with their adoptive parents, Sandy and Casey Parsons, had not been around since 2011. For 2 years, he said, she had simply vanished. His parents offered excuses whenever anyone asked. They claimed Erica was living with her grandmother, a woman they called Nan or Carolina, somewhere in Asheville. But Jamie knew that wasn't true. Carolina didn't exist. To the deputies on the other end of the line, the story didn't make sense. How could a girl be gone for years and no one outside the family had ever raised alarm? Erica wasn't in school. She hadn't seen a doctor. There were no signs of her anywhere. Yet Sandy and Casey continued to cash adoption assistance checks every month, claiming she was still under their care. When investigators first began asking questions, they were met with lies. Sandy and Casey insisted Erica was fine, that she had gone to live with relatives, and that she would be back soon. They tried to paint Jamie as a troubled son, lashing out at them. But behind their carefully rehearsed explanations, cracks began to appear. Neighbors told detectives they hadn't seen Erica in years. Relatives admitted they hadn't spoken to her, hadn't received letters, not even a phone call. Schools confirmed she had been withdrawn long before her disappearance was reported. It was as if she had been erased. The more deputies pushed, the more troubling the picture became. Erica wasn't just a missing teenager. She was a child whose absence had been hidden, explained away with stories that didn't add up, covered by parents who continued to take money on her behalf. The case struck investigators with a chilling realization. Erica had not simply wandered off. She had been deliberately made invisible. Within days, the search for Erica Parsons expanded from a routine missing person case into a full-scale investigation, one that would uncover years of secrets, lies, and abuse. It was clear that this wasn't just about finding a missing girl. It was about exposing what had really happened inside the Parsons home and why no one had come forward until now. Erica Lynn Parsons was born on February 24, 1998, in North Carolina. Her early life was difficult from the start. Her biological mother struggled with stability, and raising Erica proved more than she could manage. At just a few months old, Erica was placed for adoption. Sandy and Casey Parsons, a couple living in Salisbury, North Carolina, agreed to take her in. On paper, it seemed like a fresh start. Adoption promised Erica the stability she hadn't had at birth, a permanent home, siblings to grow up with, and the chance at a normal childhood. To outsiders, Sandy and Casey presented themselves as a regular family, if a little chaotic. They already had several children of their own, and adding Erica to the mix looked like an act of kindness. But behind closed doors, life inside the Parsons household was far from what it appeared. Erica was treated differently from the very beginning. Where the Parsons' biological children were given affection and freedom, Erica was singled out, isolated, and often disciplined harshly. She was the outsider in her own home. Relatives would later recall that Erica never seemed to receive the same attention or love as the other kids. Her clothes didn't fit as well, her hair often went unkempt, and she seemed quiet, withdrawn. It wasn't just neglect. There were signs of something deeper, a systematic effort to make Erica feel unwanted. As she grew older, the difference became harder to ignore. Erica's adoptive siblings noticed it too. They remembered that while they were allowed to eat freely, Erica's meals were restricted. While they could watch TV or play outside, Erica was often kept apart. Casey Parsons, in particular, seemed to view Erica less as a daughter and more as a burden. And yet, to the outside world, there were no alarms raised. Teachers, neighbors, and extended family may have noticed small oddities, but nothing that screamed abuse. Sandy and Casey were skilled at putting on a facade. Whenever questions arose, they had ready explanations. Erica was shy. Erica was difficult. Erica was better off spending time with other relatives. The truth was more sinister. Erica was being erased slowly, not just from the daily life of the family, but from the perception of those around her. Over the years, the Parsons created a world where Erica was increasingly invisible, her presence overshadowed by lies and neglect. By the time she was a teenager, the pattern had become clear. Erica was not truly treated as part of the Parsons family. She was an adopted child in name only, living under the same roof but denied the same care, attention, and love. This was the foundation that would allow her disappearance to go unnoticed. Because when the time came, Sandy and Casey had already trained the world around them not to ask questions about Erica Parsons. From the outside, the Parsons house in Salisbury, North Carolina, looked like any other working-class home. A modest yard, a family car in the driveway, and children coming and going. But behind the closed doors of that house, Erica Parsons' life was nothing like the picture of a normal family. Relatives, neighbors, and eventually even her siblings would describe how Erica was singled out from the very beginning. While the Parsons' biological children were given warmth and affection, Erica was treated differently, almost as if she wasn't really part of the family at all. Meals became a form of punishment. While the other kids ate normally, Erica's food was limited. Sometimes she was forced to eat in isolation. Other times her portions were cut short, and her siblings remembered her going hungry. Her clothes were often old or ill-fitting, and unlike the other children, she was not allowed the same privileges. Watching television, playing outside, or visiting friends. Casey Parsons, her adoptive mother, was the central figure in this cycle of abuse. She created elaborate stories to explain why Erica wasn't around, even to people inside the family. One of those stories was about a woman named Nan, or Carolina, supposedly a grandmother who lived in Asheville. Casey claimed Erica would sometimes stay with her. In truth, there was no Carolina. It was a lie invented to explain away Erica's growing absence, even as she was still living under their roof. The abuse wasn't only neglect. Erica's siblings later told investigators about physical punishments that went far beyond discipline. They described beatings, harsh restrictions, and constant reminders that Erica was unwanted. She was made to feel like an outsider in every sense, told she wasn't truly part of the family, and treated as though her very presence was a burden. The psychological toll was just as damaging as the physical abuse. Erica became increasingly quiet and withdrawn, rarely speaking up for herself. She tried to disappear into the background to avoid attracting attention that might result in punishment. The isolation cut her off not only from her siblings, but from the outside world. Without regular school attendance, consistent medical checkups, or meaningful contact with relatives, Erica was becoming invisible long before she vanished entirely. What made the situation even more tragic was that the warning signs were there. Extended family noticed that Erica never seemed as well cared for as the other children. They wondered why she was rarely present during family gatherings, why she never called, and why her clothes never fit. Teachers and school officials saw her withdrawn nature. But when Casey pulled Erica from school, those questions stopped. No one in authority came to check. Inside the home, Sandy Parsons, her adoptive father, played a quieter role. He did not stop the abuse, and at times he participated. Later testimony revealed that while Casey was the driving force, Sandy allowed the pattern to continue. The message to Erica was the same. She had no one to protect her. By 2011, Erica's world had shrunk to almost nothing. The lies her parents spun about Carolina began to take on a more permanent shape. Relatives were told that Erica had gone to live elsewhere. When siblings asked, they were met with evasive answers or threats to stay quiet. Piece by piece, Erica was erased from the daily life of the Parsons home. To the outside world, it appeared as if she simply slipped away. But in reality, she had been fading for years, hidden in plain sight by the very people who were supposed to protect her. By 2011, Erica Parsons had essentially vanished from the outside world. She no longer appeared at school, no longer visited relatives, and no one outside the Parsons home could say for certain when they had last seen her. The tragedy of Erica's story was not just that she disappeared, but that her disappearance was hidden behind a carefully constructed web of lies. Sandy and Casey Parsons, her adoptive parents, told anyone who asked that Erica had gone to live with a woman named Nan, or Carolina, who they claimed was her biological grandmother. According to them, Erica had left willingly, and she was better off living in Asheville, North Carolina, with family who could give her more than they could. It sounded plausible to some, but only on the surface. The more the story was told, the more it began to unravel. There was no Nan, no Carolina, no mysterious grandmother in Asheville. The figure at the center of the Parsons explanation was a complete fabrication, invented to explain why Erica had vanished and why no one had seen her for years. Still, the lie worked, at least for a while. Relatives said they would ask about Erica, only to be told that she was happy and doing well in Asheville. When they pressed for more details, Casey and Sandy grew defensive. Phone calls and visits were discouraged, with excuses piling up. Erica didn't want to talk. Erica was busy. Erica had started a new life. Meanwhile, the Parsons continued to collect adoption assistance payments. Month after month, checks came in from the state of North Carolina, meant to support the care of a child who was no longer there. It wasn't just neglect. It was fraud, a financial crime intertwined with the erasure of Erica herself. What's most chilling is how invisible Erica became during this time. Schools did not follow up after her withdrawal. Doctors weren't checking in. Extended family members accepted the story, even if uneasily. And neighbors, seeing the Parsons' other children, didn't question the absence of one more. Erica had been effectively erased, not just from the household, but from the world outside it. Years passed like this. Erica's name faded from conversations, her presence from daily life. To most, it was as if she no longer existed. And yet, no missing persons report was ever filed by the parents who were supposed to protect her. It wasn't until Jamie Parsons, Erica's older adoptive brother, finally came forward in 2013 that the truth began to surface. His call to the sheriff's office would open the door to one of the most disturbing child abuse investigations in North Carolina's history. But by then, Erica had already been gone for years. When Jamie Parsons called the Rowan County Sheriff's Office in July 2013, he did more than report a missing person. He opened the door to a secret that had been buried for years. Detectives who responded quickly realized this wasn't a typical disappearance. By the time Erica's name appeared in their files, she had already been gone for nearly 2 years. The first step was simple: confirm the parents' story. Sandy and Casey Parsons insisted Erica was living with her biological grandmother in Asheville, a woman they called Nan or Carolina. Detectives asked for an address, a phone number, any way to reach her. What they got instead were vague details, evasive answers, and an increasingly defensive attitude. Investigators went to Asheville anyway. They searched for any trace of a woman named Carolina connected to Erica's biological family. There was nothing. No records, no relatives, no living grandmother who matched the description. It was a lie, and one that immediately shifted suspicion onto Sandy and Casey. The more detectives dug, the worse it looked. Extended family members admitted they hadn't seen Erica in years. Neighbors said they never saw her playing outside, even while the Parsons' other children came and went. School records showed she had been pulled out long before her supposed move to Asheville. Medical records stopped years earlier. It was as if Erica had vanished from every official system designed to protect a child. At the same time, investigators noticed something else. Even though Erica was missing, Sandy and Casey continued to cash adoption assistance checks every month. For 2 years after she was gone, the money kept coming in, and the Parsons spent it as if nothing was wrong. That fraud became the first solid charge prosecutors could bring while they searched for Erica. In 2014, Sandy and Casey were indicted on federal fraud charges. The government accused them of taking thousands of dollars in adoption subsidies for a child who was no longer in their home. The trial revealed disturbing details about the lies they had told to cover Erica's absence, and the public began to see a clearer picture. This wasn't just neglect, it was a calculated effort to erase a child while continuing to profit from her existence. But fraud charges weren't enough. Detectives wanted to know the truth: where Erica was, what had happened to her, and why her adoptive parents were so desperate to cover it up. They pressed family members, questioned neighbors, and scoured the Parsons property for clues. Each lead ended the same way. Erica had simply disappeared, and her parents offered nothing but excuses. Still, investigators didn't give up. Behind the scenes, they kept building their case, waiting for a break that could finally answer the most painful question of all. Where was Erica Parsons? For years, investigators and the public held on to a fragile hope that Erica Parsons might still be alive somewhere, hidden away but safe. That hope ended in 2016. By then, both Sandy and Casey Parsons were already serving prison time for federal fraud, convicted of stealing government money by collecting adoption benefits for a child who hadn't lived in their home for years. But investigators knew that fraud was only part of the story. The bigger question, the one that haunted every headline, remained unanswered. Where was Erica? That answer finally came from Sandy himself. While in custody, under growing pressure, Sandy began to talk. He admitted that Erica was dead. The story he told was grim. According to him, Erica had died at the Parsons home after years of mistreatment and neglect. Instead of reporting her death, Sandy and Casey disposed of her body and built their lives around the lie that she had gone to live with a grandmother who didn't exist. Sandy led investigators to a remote property in Chesterfield County, South Carolina, land that belonged to his family. There, in a shallow grave behind a red barn, they uncovered skeletal remains. Dental records later confirmed what investigators already feared. They had found Erica Parsons. The discovery was devastating, but it also confirmed what many had suspected all along. Erica had never been in Asheville, never in the care of another family member. She had been silenced, hidden, and buried by the very people who were supposed to protect her. The remains told their own story. Forensic analysis revealed evidence of abuse and malnutrition. It painted a chilling picture of a young girl who had endured years of cruelty before her death. When news broke, the reaction was swift and emotional. In Rowan County and beyond, people mourned a girl most of them had never met, but whose absence had come to symbolize something larger: a failure of family, of community, and of the systems meant to protect children. Vigils were held, flowers were placed, and strangers who had followed the case for years expressed their grief and anger. The Parsons lies had worked for years, but now Erica had been found. And with her discovery, prosecutors prepared for the next phase: a murder trial that would finally hold Sandy and Casey accountable, not just for fraud, but for the life they had stolen. With Erica's remains finally recovered in 2016, prosecutors could do what they had waited years to do: bring murder charges against Sandy and Casey Parsons. The fraud convictions had already stripped away their facade of being a normal family, but the discovery of Erica's body revealed the full depth of their crimes. In February 2018, a grand jury indicted both Sandy and Casey for first-degree murder, felony child abuse, felony concealment of death, and obstruction of justice. For many in Rowan County, the charges were long overdue. The details that emerged in court painted a horrifying picture. Witnesses, including Erica's siblings, described years of abuse, beatings, starvation, isolation, and constant emotional cruelty. The so-called Carolina grandmother had never existed. Every word Sandy and Casey had spoken about Erica's whereabouts had been a lie to cover up her disappearance and continue collecting adoption subsidies. Prosecutors argued that the abuse in the Parsons home was relentless, a campaign of neglect and violence that ultimately caused Erica's death. Erica had never been given the chance to grow into adulthood. Instead, she had been silenced, hidden, and buried by the people who were supposed to protect her. In the end, both Sandy and Casey Parsons were convicted. Casey received a life sentence without parole for murder, plus additional time for the related charges. Sandy was also sentenced to decades in prison. For many in the community, justice had finally been served. Though no sentence could erase the years of pain Erica endured or the failure of so many to protect her. The impact of the case spread far beyond Rowan County. News outlets across the country covered the story, and Erica's name became a symbol of the children who slipped through the cracks, unseen by schools, unprotected by relatives, and unheard by the systems designed to keep them safe. Advocates for child welfare pointed to Erica's case as a tragic example of why stronger protections are needed, why consistent oversight matters, and why every report of abuse or neglect must be taken seriously. Vigils were held for Erica, and strangers who had never known her came together to mourn the life she never had the chance to live. In death, Erica Parsons became more visible than she ever had been in life. Her story resonated because it forced people to ask the hardest question: how could this happen, and how could no one stop it? The Parsons home is quiet now, stripped of the secrets it once held. But the name Erica Parsons lingers, a reminder of the dangers of silence, the cost of neglect, and the importance of speaking up when a child disappears from view. Her case remains one of the darkest in North Carolina's history, not just because of the cruelty she endured, but because of how long her absence went unnoticed. Erica Parsons will never grow up, but her story ensures that others will not forget what happens when children are made invisible. Erica's story must never be forgotten. Subscribe for more full-length true crime documentaries and join us as we uncover the next case.